without local football. We got plenty of Maryland football on Saturday taking on Indiana and looking to become bowl eligible. But I don't know that this bye could have come at a better time for me to exhale, run off to New York with my wife for a couple of days as she's being honored by the DKMS this week, and take a little breather here from Ravens football. I feel like I need a little breather from social media. This guy does radio here each and every Thursday from 3 until 5. He also sponsors our WNST Tech Service. He's over on the showroom at Coons Ford Security Boulevard and took care of me over the weekend when I needed a rental car because my oil pan's a mess. He is Dennis Kolatzis from Coons Ford Security Boulevard and the SSV on WNST. He joins us here. Dennis, have you heard enough about how just awful and stupid John Harbaugh is and what an incredibly awful quarterback Joe Flacco is and how he's just stealing money from Steve Bisciotti?
Yep, absolutely. And even our friends up north in Pittsburgh, they're calling for Mike Tomlin's head. So both fan bases are melting down right now, which is typical. I purposely stayed off of social media for a full day. I didn't want to hear it. I knew what was coming.
Is that the new 24-hour rule that Ray Lewis talked about? Yeah.
Just gotta pump the brake, take a breather, relax. The sky's not falling, and it is what it is.
Well, let's talk first about the actual games, and then we'll get into your friends and my friends and our followers on social media and the just rampant stupidity that I see throughout people who call themselves football fans, and they're screaming, trying to sound smart, except to people who know what's really going on. It's not very smart at all. But it really does come back down to what's happening on the field, what's happening with injuries, what's happening with second-teamers, what's happening. And look, Ozzie and John and Joe Flacco, they're all culpable in this. I mean, everybody's a part of a 4-game losing streak. But by and large, let's just start with they started with a team that was older. They knew that coming in, and they knew that Suggs and Smith and Pitt and even Flacco coming off the injuries coming off of, there was a possibility some, most, or all of them would not be what we used to think of them as being.
Yeah, and that's exactly what's happened. That's true. The injury bug has struck again, this veteran-laden team, and the offensive line has been a mess. Joe's still coming back from his injury. I think a lot of people forget he had a very significant injury. It does take about a year and a half for it to fully heal. Joe came back very early, and now he's being criticized and called out. Back foot Joe, he's throwing off his back foot every play. Never mind that his offensive line is a sieve, and he's running for his life. Can't even establish a running game. I mean, come on. You know that Mark Trestman somewhere right now is laughing his head off.
Well, I'm looking down and I'm seeing 12 rushes for 6 yards. And when that is your rushing offense, chances are your pass defense isn't much, or pass protection isn't much better. And when you're getting 6 yards of rushing, I don't know what you expect from the quarterback. And I really, for fans who could look at the coach's tape, you would see what I saw from the sky late in the game, which is I'm looking around for someone to get open. They were pretty much doubling Wallace and just saying, let somebody else beat us. And, Joe wasn't accurate. Joe didn't have protection, and they couldn't move the football on Sunday.
Yeah, no question about it. And you mentioned that you saw it. You had a great vantage point, eye in the sky, and you could see that the receivers weren't getting much separation. And that does make a difference. Our receivers, I've said it for years, they don't have catch radius. They don't have guys that can go up and fight for the ball and win those 50-50 balls. Not from Ozzie. He's never been able to get Joe that receiver. I've often said, put Joe Flacco in Atlanta's offense and give him the tools that Matt Ryan has. He's never had anyone close to what Julio Jones is, or A.J. Green for that matter.
Well, he did have Anquan Bolden. They did have Torrey Smith. There's been a nice complement of receivers, and I don't think that this group of receivers is incapable. I do think there needs to be some time. There needs to be a running game. All of this has to work together. Anybody praising Kubiak, Kubiak wanted to run the ball. That was a run-first offense. That was throw off of the run. If you can't run, you can't throw off of the run. All that being said, where are you with Flacco at this point? As far as, and again, I think it's a bigger picture than just judging him or judging the injury or judging his throws. And the whole elite thing, that will linger on long after he's gone, quite frankly, because I can't wait to see who we're going to replace him with when it's time to replace him, because chances are you're going to like that guy a lot less than you like Joe.
Yeah, I don't know that he's elite, but he's definitely very good. And look, he's been oft-criticized. There have been questions about his work ethic. Rumors are
that's ridiculous. But by the way, that is an absolute That's the dumbest thing. That's like somebody saying to me that I don't work hard. Have you put on Facebook? I mean, have you come out to Twitter? I mean, there's one thing you can be accused of. Being accused of being lazy is the ultimate insult when you're not.
Well, how can a guy come back to all the pundits and critics out there that would even dare say that Joe Flacco doesn't work hard, doesn't put the time in, he's the first one out of the building? How do you account for him coming back so soon from that injury? Joe could have knocked it. He could have came back, 8 games into the season and taken his time. But no, he wanted to be there opening day, and he was. So you got to give him credit. That's where I'm at with Flacco. Flacco needs help, and you brought up Torrey Smith. He is available right now. Unfortunately, they're negotiating with the Philadelphia Eagles, but Torrey Smith in the Ravens uniform today would be a welcome addition. I don't know what kind of money he's looking for, how that's going to work out. That's not for me to figure out. That's for guys like Pat Moriarty and Ozzie Newsome to take care of. But Torrey Smith is available, and you know what? The Ravens have some cap room. They should take a look at that cap because he was good for at least one pass in the fans call a game. Plus, he had good chemistry with Joe.
By the way, Torrey Smith's home this week. He's doing an event at Dunbar High School. I got an email on it. It's the 26th. What day is the 26th? Is that's Wednesday? So that's tomorrow. So Wednesday he'll be in town. For the offense and for it to work and for the draft and where Ozzie is, they used a number 1 pick on Brashad Perryman last year. There's nothing about the way he's playing right now that says he's a number 1 draft pick. Now, the Ravens would not be the first or the last to be duped by this with first-round wide receivers. We know the history of this and how this works in the NFL. He was hanging head in the locker room in front of everyone, in front of me, in front of the media, in front of his teammates in New York. It was very, very obvious. He was being sort of, coached along a little bit by Mike Wallace in the corner. I think he got blamed internally for the interceptions to Flacco, that he didn't go fight for the ball. I think he's taking it hard on himself. And if you remember, Torrey Smith in the beginning had some issues with some drops and some confidence until that St. Louis game, and then he picked it up and made himself a multimillionaire, right? I'm not saying Perryman can't do it, but I'm not seeing signs of life right now with Perryman. And more than that, I'm seeing a quarterback that does not trust him, should not trust him, and an organization that is starting to scratch their head saying, we're a year and a half into this with this kid. When is he going to start looking like an NFL receiver? Not like a number 1, but just like a competent NFL, like a Kamar Aiken, let's say.
Oh, yeah, well, he flashed a couple of times. He had a couple of slants where I thought his hands were pretty sticky, but the one beautiful ball that Joe threw to Mike Wallace, I mean, he threaded the needle, put the ball between the defensive back's hands, just laid it right in there. Joe can't make the throws, but he does need the guys to go out there and get him. Perryman, it's going to take time. Nestor, I mean, they've got him. They've got another couple of years with him. Does he develop? I'm seeing some signs that he's becoming an NFL receiver, but it was also good to see Kamar Aiken. He brought him up. I saw him the other night, and nice guy.
Great guy, Kamar. Yeah.
Deserves to be out on the field. Very smart, just deserves an opportunity, but when you can't run the ball in the NFL, it changes your entire offense. Joe Flacco is at his best when he can play action and throw that beautiful deep ball, throws a nice slant, and that's what every team, not just the Ravens, banks on is a running game. And I still think that if Geno Smith doesn't get hurt, the Ravens, ironically, will go on and win that game because I think he was more prone to turnovers than Fitzpatrick. I mean, Fitzpatrick just went in there and basically managed the game. Matt Forte had a good day. Their offensive line had a good day against our defensive line. And you got to give them credit. I mean, their center went out in the first quarter, Nestor, and they adjusted.
They're Pro Bowl center, right?
They're Pro Bowl center,
yeah.
So you got a different center, you got a different quarterback, and you get another quarterback yet, and they're still able to execute.
Dennis Kolotzis joining us here. He'll be here on Thursday, as he is each and every Thursday with the SSV on WNST, also sponsoring our WNST text service, which has been far too active with injury reports. And, as we get ready for this Pittsburgh game, and I don't need to tell you, this is a season-defining game. I mean, you win this game against Pittsburgh, this 4-game losing streak becomes a little bit of a rearview mirror for them. I mean, it is about winning the division. That's still sitting there. They still have 4 games left with Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. Thoughts about getting guys back? I mean, obviously, they're going to be a different team with Steve Smith and with C.J. Mosley. I don't really know if Suggs is coming back. I don't know if we're ever going to see Doomerville again. It feels to me like Marshall Yanda is still a little ways away. When he comes back, given the position he plays and given the injury that he has, it's going to be questionable as to his effectiveness. But I think they're going to field a more representative team against Pittsburgh a week and a half from now. And more than that, I don't think the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to have Ben Roethlisberger. So this becomes a winnable football game for us next Sunday if you can keep your head on straight.
Yeah, this division is starting to resemble the AFC South with all the bad years that division has had, where maybe 8-8, 9-7, maybe even 7-9, I dare say, wins the division. But we all know that there's only one person's opinion that matters, and that's Steve Bisciotti's. Wonder what he's thinking right now, because, and I tell people, look, you got to let the season play out. We don't know, the script is still being written, so to make any assumption at this point about what they are or aren't going to do, let the season play out. Give the guys a chance. They have a bye week at a great time. They should be able to get a few players back, as you mentioned. Let the things play out. John Harbaugh has done a great job over space and time. So has Joe Flacco. They deserve a chance to right the ship before we write them off. And these knee-jerk reactions that we get after these losses are just unbelievable. I mean, I get people are frustrated after a 4-game losing streak, but you know what? There's still plenty of time to turn it around.
Some thoughts about the psychology of sports fans, not Ravens fans, not Baltimore sports fans, because this happens in other places. Why are sports fans so mean? I'm just throwing that out there as a topic, as a sociology topic. What is it that emboldens people to be so incredibly mean on the sports space? Maybe it's a guy thing. I don't know what it is, but it's like everyone is tweeting at nasty stuff at 3 a.m. when their football team loses. I don't understand it.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do, Nestor, with the guaranteed contracts. I mean, let's face it, whether Flacco has a great year or not, he's still going to cash $22 million this year.
But so are 15 other quarterbacks in the league, and they're all not going to win 12 games.
Right, and their fan base are just as mean as the Ravens, maybe even more so.
I've been to Philadelphia, Dennis. I know.
So you know what I'm talking about. They, you know what, and that comes to the territory, though. They're mean-spirited, they pile on. You get a bunch of guys who've never played the game, can't even spell football, and they're going to sit there and they're not at the castle every day. They're not inside. They're not seeing things. And they're going to sit there and make assumptions because all they care about is winning. And that's a fickle fan base. And look, you mentioned the Steelers. We beat them twice last year, both sides with backup quarterbacks. I feel pretty good about their chances. Home game facing Landry Jones and company.
All right, so, run me through your thoughts on Bisciotti and Harbaugh and Ozzie and where it is. I mean, Ozzie's run this team for 21 years. At some point, he's not going to run this team anymore, right? We've thought and known that Eric DeCosta is attached to him forever, and I love Eric. Everyone knows that. And that Eric was sort of in waiting. If that is your philosophy and you've got 5 Pro Bowlers hurt, and you're the owner of the team, and you went down to Florida last year, and you checked off on all of this. You checked off on Steve Smith and Suggs and Yonda and Doomerville and bringing in Weddle and bringing in Watson and bringing in Wallace. And that's the direction that the franchise, the owner, the general manager, the coach, the scout, everybody went in that direction. And now the wheels are coming off a little bit because of age, because of injury, because of bad drafts. We got to call it what it is here when you've got the Arthur Browns and the Matt Elams and the Terrence Codys and the Brashad Perrymans, and Stanley hasn't gotten on the field. I don't know what the patience level would be. It seems to me Bisciotti's one of the more patient dudes that owns a football team. I mean, we don't make drastic changes around here. He still has the guy running in the entire front office that was hired by the Modell family. Let's be honest, right? So it's not like he's knee-jerk at all, because he's not. Clearly, he wanted Billick out at the point that he did, and clearly did a great job of hiring Harbaugh and keeping him around. I think the fans are up in arms, but I don't know that Steve Bisciotti is going to have an itchy trigger finger with Ozzie Newsome or John Harbaugh under any circumstance here, because both of those guys would have a job the next morning, right? And then he'd have to go out and figure out, who to hire and who to run the team. And unless he has an idea of someone else that he wants to run the team, I don't know that you throw the baby out with the bathwater because a bunch of guys get hurt and the team can't play.
Well, we're certainly going to find out. Let's see what Steve Bisciotti does, Nestor, because he still has, by and large, Art Modell's people. And I think if the wheels come off the cart, all options will be on the table for him. Does he make a change at GM? Will it be DeCosta, or does he completely clean house? Keep in mind, this is also the owner who got up one morning and decided that Brian Billick, as you mentioned, was no longer going to be the coach of the team. That was not in his plans. He just got up in the morning. He said he had a gut feeling. He followed his gut. I wonder what his gut feeling is going to be at the end of the season if the Ravens miss the playoffs once again. A to Z, that's the intrigue of this season so far. Nestor, what does he do? And does he, like you said, does he stay the course, or does he make a change? And that's what the fascinating thing about us covering sports is.
Well, the fascinating part for me in this league is even when you lose 4 games in a row, you look back on those 4 games. Hey, look, it's not like the Ravens have gotten pushed around the way the Jets did in Arizona last week or the way the Steelers did against Philadelphia 5 weeks ago, where you just go out and get your ass kicked. You go out there and lose by 3 or 4 touchdowns. That hasn't happened.
No.
And, for all of the bad vibe of them losing for the last month, and no one is saying they're playing well, they're not, but they're still in all of these games. They're not going out there and getting completely manhandled. Now, if that were the case, if they start getting beat by 3 touchdowns late in the season by Philadelphia, by Miami, they go to Pittsburgh and Cincinnati, and they don't win in the month of December, wake me up January 4th, and I'll tell you that maybe there would be some massive changes here. But I still look at this and say they can beat the Steelers next Sunday, and they can certainly beat the Browns, which would put them in first place heading to Dallas for Thanksgiving. So, as much as the sky is falling here before Halloween, there's still a lot of football left here.
Well, the best organizations figure out, Nestor. They never blame, complain, or explain. The New England Patriots are a perfect example of that. That cat up there, love him or hate him, he's figured out how to do it. With backup quarterbacks, first-string quarterbacks, they scheme, they plan, they figure it out. I have an owner I can't make excuses for. I've got to produce a great financial statement for him, keep customers happy. If I happen to lose people because they get sick or they go someplace else, he never knows about it because I just take care of it. So I think no different than running a football team. At some point, you can't make any excuses, even if they're valid, even if you have those injuries. The next man up's got to be good enough. And that's the other part that ties into drafting and scouting and everything else and how they assess players. And we've seen players that the Ravens have let go that are doing pretty well for other teams.
Well, and a lot of that was about salary cap too.
No, there's no question about it. And also when these quarterbacks get paid, it does hinder the rest of the team. It does hinder the amount and quality of good players you can get. Then the Seahawks are going through it right now with after that big Russell Wilson contract. Every team goes through it. So. We'll see what happens. But again, there's plenty of season left. It's only 7 games, 9 more to play. Got to have some patience and see what it looks like after 2 or 3 more games.
All right, look, you hold down the ship here on Thursday. We'll get back after it next week, and we'll see how we do against the Steelers. He is Dennis Kolatzis over at Coons Ford Security Boulevard. Tell me what's going on over there, Den.
Selling cars and trucks and SUVs like crazy, Nestor. I've got over 900. We're approaching 1,000 brand new vehicles. I think my lot is sinking. 30 acres. Almost 1,000 brand new vehicles, 200 pre-loved vehicles, 47 base service department, parts department, body shop. We just opened up a 3rd paint booth to keep everybody's cars looking good. Business has never been better. You can get a hold of me at 410-218-0337. Website's www.coonsbaltimoreFord.com.
Well, look, man, I took one loaner car off your lot there. She let me run around this week while my oil pan gets repaired. I appreciate that. We will check back in with you again on Thursday afternoon, and we'll see you next week.
Appreciate that, Nestor. Thank you for the time.
Dennis Kolatzis with a great Halloween costume. You can check that out on my Facebook as well. You can find me out in the Bayou Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn radio app. We do come in crystal clear. The morning newspaper ships to your email inbox each and every morning at 7 a.m. That is brought to you by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. And as mentioned, our WNST tech service shipped to you live, local, and on time. You'll always be the smartest sports fan. It's all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. We're at Buffalo Wild Wings every Monday night for the best seat in the house in Owings Mills. Had a good time out there. Had a spirited wing-eating contest on Monday as well. It was way better than Brock Osweiler was, I assure you of that. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.